Shadow the Vampire just seemed to me to insinuate this is a vampire film, and the film that I intended to make was not a vampire film, and so I was a little wary of naming the film Shadow the Vampire. And at some point during rewrites in Luxembourg at 4 in the morning, I came up with Burned to Light, and that stuck for a while. And then when Willem showed up in production, he said, "Who's Ed?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Burn Ed to Light." And I thought, this isn't working. I mean, Willem wasn't happy with the title. He thought it was kind of awkward to say it. And what I found out is that it really was awkward to say it. I found that a lot of people kept confusing it with Burnt to Light, but I found that when the film was done, the film had such a power and elegance on its own that it really didn't, that Shadow the Vampire worked, and it worked quite elegantly and very well. So the title made its way back in. The original title made its way back. Well, Nick has a great passion for, not only early cinema, but especially expressionist cinema and black and white silent films. But he also has a great passion for art history, and that's very wide-ranging. And I think that I'm sure this script spoke to him on many different levels of art, of the sort of allegory of the method actor. I mean, Nick being a phenomenal actor himself, found a great affinity to the character of the Max Schreck in Shadow the Vampire, this idea of this actor that goes beyond the limits of his own, flesh and being to just become this supernatural creature. And I think that that his fascination with those ideas was something that was important to his passion in involvement in the project. I see the film on so many different levels that it's hard for me to just nail it down to just one. In many ways, the film is a comment about the power and the beauty and the sometimes obsessiveness that comes with the cinema and the act of making films, and also the silliness and the humor and the pioneering spirit that these early filmmakers had. I mean, something that I really wanted to communicate, and which was very important to me in this film, is this idea that Murnau, was a pioneer, and that to show this pioneer as this, through the enthusiasm and through the passion of his of the character that Malkovich and myself create in the film, is very important. To bring Max Schreck to life is something where you really need to look very hard. There's very few actors that can do what Willem Dafoe does in Shadow the Vampire. He does an absolutely magnificent job, and what I would do is just create the panorama, the world, and the costumes for him to inhabit, and then with the makeup, with the costumes, with the corset, with the teeth, with the nails and everything, he would then just, breathe this, mass of special effects into life. And he does it like a ballet dancer. He makes it look so easy and effortless, and it's really quite beautiful to watch. The set was a set that was very much like an ensemble theater, where you have everybody working together and for one another to do the very best work and to bring the very best of both passion and ideas to the screen. So it really became, a kind of a laboratory where we're all working together, challenging one another to not only be our best, but also to bring nuances and subtleties that not any one person would be able to capture. Well, I saw the film for the first time when I was 11 years old, and it really scared me to death. It was one of those things where, this stiff sort of labored movements of Max Schreck in that film, in the original Nosferatu, just is very unnerving, and it's very scary, especially to a kid. And I had subsequently seen the film 8 times after that, so I've seen it a total 9 times. I've seen all of Murnau's films, especially highlighting, Faust, The Last Laugh, Sunrise. I mean, these are masterpieces, along with Nosferatu. And Nosferatu is something that came to me to mean, the mother of all vampire films, where you have, the first of the genre, the first horror film, the first to inspire, hundreds and thousands of vampire movies that subsequently were born from that. But I think that film, Nosferatu, captures a kind of creepiness and beauty that very rarely is captured in other vampire movies. As a matter of fact, I can't compare it to anything else. I think it's one of the great films. And but I also think it's one of the great films because it was coming from a very real place. I mean, when Murnau and Alban Grau, the producer, were making this film, it was their idea to take the pestilence of World War I, to take the carnage of World War I and turn that into an effigy, to turn that black cloud that was hanging over Germany and hanging over Europe into something that could be seen, and assessed, and that became this frightening visage of Count Orlok in Murnau's and Nosferatu. So it's quite extraordinary.